Lucy. I just share my screen, and we can have a look at the results of the Slido poll that we've been running through this session, which is really, we started doing a survey like this across the ICAN community, and we just thought it would be great to open it up today to help understand what the technologies are that are in use at various stages in the life cycle of cataloging and publishing and viewing Atlas layers. So as we're talking about catalogs, and this is probably one of the areas that I would really see as having schema.org come into. We can see that Esri ArcCatalog and GeoNetwork from the 12 responses are the ones that are top used. There's obviously something else there. I didn't get any responses as I put things into the chat asking for specifics around something else. A few people using GeoNode to catalog, and I think probably one person who responded using PyCSW. So then I found this one particularly interesting, looking again at what tools are used to serve the Atlas layers. A real kind of, again, we got 10 responses as we were doing this particular survey. So it's not the biggest sample size, but a big win for Geoserver there as being the most popular, and then followed by kind of on-premise Esri services and the cloud, and then a couple of uses of map server as well. So yeah, real kind of open source lead on that. And then looking at what tools are used to display the Atlas layers. So again, I think probably something custom or something we missed off our list there at the top, but then couple of respondents each using the Esri Clients, GeoNode, OpenLayers, and then I think just the one which would be our own Irish Marine Atlas using Leaflet as its display. So I think that was kind of really interesting. If anybody didn't contribute and would like to kind of let us know the technologies that they're using, then it would be brilliant to hear from you. You can my contact details will be on the end of the slides that I presented earlier on, or I can drop them into the chat in a minute, and we can build this out a little bit more. It's really helpful to us to kind of understand the technologies that are in use around ICAN. I just want to wind back a little bit. Maybe we can spend a couple of minutes before we go to Doug and have a look at some of the implementation work around Ocean InfoHub, to think about how it is that we might extend some of these tools or make use of some of these tools to connect into the Ocean InfoHub project. And thinking back to what I was talking about around schema.org as well, and structured data on the web using some of those linked data patterns. I know in the latest versions of GeoNetwork, there is a schema.org output. So I'm rather hoping that we can maybe do an experiment with somebody who's using one of the more up-to-date versions of GeoNetwork with the Ocean InfoHub and have a look at how well that connects in. One of the slides that I didn't get to spend too much time on, I was going to say that the tooling remains a problem. And one of the things that I'm conscious of as we talk about connecting into something like Ocean InfoHub is that we don't disrupt people's existing workflows too much, and we find ways of making use of the tools that they already have available to them to make those connections. And make use of existing workflows. So GeoNetwork, I think there's definitely an experiment that we can do there. I was kind of hoping PyCSW would be a lot higher up the list, because I think that's a relatively easy target for us to develop something against for outputting PyCSW as well. Outputting schema.org as well. And again, CCAN would have been a nice one to see some use of, because it has DCAT in there. So the World Wide Web Consortium's data catalog vocabulary as an option for outputting. And so connecting data sets from there into something like Ocean InfoHub would be relatively straightforward. See, Jeff has probably somebody's just updated for ArcCatalog, so it's taken a lead. And then to think a little bit about, I know we've been talking a little bit about, instead of using a generic data set pattern in Ocean InfoHub, talking about the actual layers and the maps that make up an atlas. It's nice to see these going up as we're talking. So that's great. I did wonder if the poll was still open or not, but clearly it is. And going up, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of work that we could do with the Geoserver community to think about how we might embed schema.org patterns there as well. So really, I think this has kind of been really interesting for me to have a look at and think about how we might think about connecting some of these things. So Tanya just put a comment in the chat, which is helpful because she's saying that GeoNode also uses PyCSW as its catalog service backend. So there is a little bit of additional PyCSW there. Thanks Jeff for pointing out the bad case in how I put the PyCSW into the survey as well there. So yeah, so GeoNode using PyCSW means that if we did do some work on that for Ocean InfoHub, we could make use of both PyCSW and GeoNode together for connecting. So that was kind of really how I wanted to introduce the next little bit. Or if anybody has any other thoughts around that, I'd be interested to hear them before we move on to the final little bits of the session. Okay, so Leonardo just sent me a message as well. So GeoNode can or uses PyCSW by default, but can be configured to use GeoNetwork as well. So that's interesting. Thank you, Leonardo. So I think there's definitely some things that we can do as the Ocean InfoHub community to have a look at connecting to GeoNetwork, and maybe we can spend a little bit of time having a look and seeing whether we can do some work on the PyCSW. Sorry, thank you, Tanya. On the PyCSW. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Definitely, Adam. I think that'll be very useful for the African Coastal and Marine Atlas and Ocean InfoHub discussion. So that's definitely something we can take forward with Tanya and others as well.
So thanks to everybody who's contributed.